In rabbinic school, they taught us never to preach against the text. And I would certainly never question Moses. But Moshe Rabbeinu, or Moses, our teacher, did no favors for us in Nitzavim. Nitzavim is the Torah portion we read last Shabbat, and it's also the portion our congregation has traditionally read on Yom Kippur morning. In it, Moses provides the Israelites with a very simple choice. I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day. I have put before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life if you and your offspring would live. If only life were that simple. A choice between blessing and curse, goodness and evil. Framing life's choices in this way leads one to believe that there is always a way of goodness and righteousness, and just as importantly, an opposite way, that is evil. Yet in the real world, rarely are the choices in life so stark. For most of us and for most of life, the choices are more likely to be in the shades of gray. Moreover, framing life as choices between good and evil can foster the self-righteousness that comes with believing that whatever choice I make, whatever choice I come to believe, that's good. And therefore, by contrast, those who do not share these same choices or beliefs are bad. The fact is that real life, particularly during a pandemic, is filled with more with ambiguity than certainty. If one is to be in relationships with others, we have to recognize the ambiguous nature of these times. All of us are constantly making decisions about what is required of us to safeguard our own health and safety, as well as the safety of others, while still remaining in authentic relationship with family, co-workers, and friends. And the decisions we make aren't necessarily consistent. Many of us, for example, have children or grandchildren who are unvaccinated. So even those of us who would never dream of walking into a grocery store without a mask, when we're around those children and grandchildren home, are we wearing masks? I doubt it. Which weddings have we decided to attend? Are we comfortable traveling, going out to dinner? Going out to dinner indoors, going out to dinner outdoors. Oy! What's more, we're constantly encountering people who are making decisions other than those that we would have made ourselves. How do we maneuver those relationships? Can we only be friends with people who make the same social and medical choices that we would? For most of us, that would leave us with a pretty short list of family and friends. This is all to say that in order to remain in relationship with others, all of us have had to reconcile ourselves to the ambiguous nature of our current lives. We have to become adept at holding two alternative truths in our heads. The very people who we might feel are being most irresponsible are also the same people that mean the most in our lives. We make choices, not always good, not always bad, but always we have to make choices. Living is about navigating within uncertainties, about making decisions which will have uncertain outcomes, but doing so in a way so as to honor the values which provide a moral center to our lives. This is true all the time, just all the more so in pandemic times. And living in ambiguity applies to more than our pandemic behaviors. It also applies to understanding ourselves. At this time of teshuvah, of self-evaluation, it is essential that we be able to hold alternative truths about ourselves in our heads. We are neither fully good nor fully evil. An honest assessment is more than a critique. Teshuvah requires us to examine not only where we fall short, but also what are the positive truths of our lives, and to use those positive truths to provide sustenance for potential repair and redirection. The sages taught that virtually no one begins the days of all with a guaranteed spot in the book of life. But on the other hand, virtually no one is precluded from entering that book either. Let me therefore offer a paradigm from rabbinic law for your consideration this Rosh Hashanah, one which calls upon us to hold in our minds two alternative truths about ourselves. It comes from the teaching of Rav Simcha Bunim, a great Polish Hasidic master at the turn of the 19th century. He is credited with the following: everyone must have two pockets, one with a note in each pocket, so that he or she can reach into one or the other depending upon the need. When feeling lonely and depressed, discouraged, or disconsolate, one should reach into the right pocket and there find the words, Bishvili Nivra Ha'olam. The world was created for me. But when feeling high and mighty, one should reach into the left pocket and find the words, V'anochi afar ve'efer. I am but dust and ashes. No parable could be more appropriate for Rosh Hashanah and Teshuvah during the succeeding 10 days that stretch before us. I am but dust and ashes. We have all shared lots of dust and ashes moments of various types this past year. Everyone that I know has been struggling mightily during this time period, particularly those with school-age and preschool-age children. In prior years, we had all built our lives around a routine that included certain assumptions that simply disappeared. Assumptions like our children would be in school, we would be in an office, and that families would gather at festive occasions and holidays. Even when kids were in school or we gathered in small numbers, there was a constant anxiety about being safe. Anxiety has been our constant companion, and it has taken toll on relationships. Concern has sometimes morphed into anger and confusion directed not only at strangers, but sometimes even at the people that we most love. There's a psychological toll that's also been overlooked. Wearing masks means that we're not able to see each other's faces in full and therefore miss the basic visual cues that are part of normal communication of emotions. Smiles have been at a premium. With only words at our disposal, and even those muffled through a mask, it's been a struggle to convey the full range of how we feel and to fully comprehend the feelings of those around us. I am keenly aware of the many disappointments and moments of pain that have marked this past year. Vacations canceled, weddings postponed, B'nai Mitzvah without all of our family and friends, and the funerals with only the immediate family present. I want you to know, as your rabbi, I and my clergy colleagues have shared that depth of disappointment with you. I firmly believe the decision not to gather physically for this High Holy Day season is the right one, and one that reflects the values of our congregation. That does not mean that I am not deeply disappointed or that I do not miss praying together with my temple family. And I want to say something more. At the beginning of High Holy Day services, it has been my custom to apologize to the congregation for my shortcomings as a rabbi during the previous year. I did not do that last evening or this morning because I wanted to speak more fully in this regard. I've always realized that I have deficiencies as a rabbi. That hasn't been a secret. This past year, however, I have felt the weight of the blessing that you have given me of being your rabbi more than in the past, and I have not always borne that weight well. Because of the pandemic, I have been pulled in more directions and expended substantial energy on issues of congregational life that simply did not exist before. As a result, I have to tell you that I realize that I have sometimes neglected the basics of my rabbinate. There were pastoral calls I intended to make, but never did. There were opportunities to wish Mazel Tov that were missed. There was the offering of words which were inadequate to the occasion simply because I couldn't think of what I might possibly be able to say under the circumstances. I really have no excuse or explanation. I just missed the mark more than I would have liked this past year, and I apologize for the disappointment and pain that my actions or lack thereof may have caused you in 5781. There have been a lot of times this past year that I, as your rabbi, have felt like dust and ashes. On the other hand, the world was created just for us. The underlying meaning of this phrase is that humanity is the pinnacle of creation, that the human capacity to endure and to adapt is limitless. Unlike other creatures, humans have the ability to control or at least adapt to their environment and not just simply accept it. We have done that magnificently in so many ways. While the last year's school was challenging, our children really did learn. And moreover, they displayed and practiced tremendous flexibility, which will serve them later in life. We once again began traveling and seeing relatives and friends we had probably not seen for maybe as much as 2 years. For those of us fortunate to be able to work from home, that's become a matter of routine. Those who must perform their jobs in public spaces have shown exceptional courage during this pandemic. This includes not only medical professionals and first responders, but also bus drivers, sanitation workers, folks who work in grocery stores and on construction sites. Albeit differently, our society has adapted and miraculously continued to function. And that simple fact should not be minimized. Where physical gathering is not possible or at least limited, we have become adept at gathering by virtual means. In the context of Jewish life, frankly, more people are attending Shabbat services, lifelong learning offerings, and Torah study than ever before. It's true that the B'nai Mitzvah from our living rooms or with small numbers in the sanctuary is not what we expected to happen. But families, they tell me that there has been an enhanced spiritual meaning to the service because they weren't distracted by having to plan a party or worry about going to the airport to get relatives. For all life cycle events, live streaming and Zoom have allowed many more people to be present from far away than they would have been before. We have conducted Shiva Minyans with people literally from around the world. Throughout this time, our efforts to maintain our temple as a Beit Knesset, a place of gathering, has taken on new and varied forms. Cantor Gostein has facilitated a weekly gathering of congregants who are living alone. Our caring community has continued to reach out to those in need of help. We continue to educate our children to pursue social justice and provide opportunities for social action, even though we are not in person. And how do I know that all this was effective at maintaining Temple Beth Shalom as a Kahal Kodesh, a holy congregation? I know it because even though we are reaching out virtually, I see you. I feel your presence. I feel the air hugs and the genuine sorrow at not being able to physically embrace. Amongst those words of disappointment, I also hear the words of praise and gratitude for all that we have been able to do together. All of us, your clergy, your professional staff, and your lay leadership are deeply grateful for your ongoing presence and support, both spiritually and financially. You know what? Overall, things are looking pretty good going into 5782. Is there a lot certain about our lives in the year ahead? No. But that can be said for many other years as well. Are our lives still in an ambiguous state? Are we still coping with anxiety around health and safety on a daily basis? Sure. But you know what? We're getting better at navigating that world successfully. COVID-19 may not be going away, but neither is the power of the human spirit to devise ways to live and to live abundantly with it. We know that there are tremendous challenges for us, facing us, not only personally, but nationally and as Jews. But in this moment, when we are so tempted to see our world and ourselves only in terms of dust and ashes, Reb Simcha, so aptly named Simcha, reminds us that all the universe and all the inner resources of our being are at our disposal in the year ahead. Let us therefore enter this new year in joy and in optimism. We are but dust and ashes, but that's not all we are, and it's not all we can be. As the pinnacle of creation, God has given us a capacity for growth beyond which we could even believe about ourselves. Let's make 5782 a year of recovery and growth, a year in which the dust and ashes of our lives are swept away and a new creation is built, all of us together in partnership with our God. For all the world was created just for us. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will for us all.